In this video I'm just going to go through some watercolour techniques using monochromatic colours. So the first thing that I'm just going to do is to create a range of tones, and you can do that by just changing the amount of water that is on your brush compared to the amount of paint. So the less pigment you have on your brush and the more water you have, the lighter the tone is going to be. And the less water and the more paint you have on your brush, the darker the tone is going to be. Then when we talk about blending, so you might have a dark tone and then you might have a lighter tone, and all you're going to do to blend those together is to just use a damp brush, also a bit of paint, and just move the paintbrush back and forth to blend those together smoothly, like that. Okay. Then we've got some specific sort of techniques. So the first one is wet on wet, and that is where you have a layer of paint on your page. The paint is still wet while it's on your page, and then you put another colour over the top. And now what is going to happen when you do this is that your paint will bleed into the wet paint below, and that might be something that you want to achieve, but also it might be something that you want to avoid. So the bleeding is just when the paint smudges out into the wet paint below and it looks like it's bleeding, so that's why it's called that. It's sort of like escaping where your line is that you've drawn and going elsewhere. And so that's sort of, if you're aiming for that technique, it's going to be more abstract. It's not going to be as tight. It's not going to be as specific as the next technique. So the next technique is wet on dry. And that is when you have left the layer of paint that you have on your page to go dry, and then you're going to apply a new layer of paint over the top, and so your lines are going to be much sharper, much more neater than they are here. Then you've got mark making, so that is just using your brush to create texture, to create different types of lines. Maybe you're painting in an abstract way, and so you don't want smooth lines on your page. Maybe you want to achieve that sort of abstract line. So you could also do some hatching, cross hatching, stippling. You can do all sorts of things. That wasn't in view, sorry. So let's just do a few more. So we've got stippling, which is when you just create those smaller dots. You've got hatching, is just lines. And then cross hatching is like little hashtags where the lines cross over. Okay. Then again, like here, this is layering to create either a soft effect or a precise effect. But if you don't want to layer and you're just trying to create an edge in your work, like a really specific edge, you're going to leave the layer that you already have down and let it dry before you paint next to it. So here I've left my black paint to go dry before I apply my grey paint. And what that does is it just allows for that really nice sharp specific line to be maintained. Whereas if I was painting one section here, but then I didn't let it go dry, I left it wet before I painted my next colour, you would have this bleeding effect again. And that might be something that you want, but it also might not. To create a soft edge, if you are trying to create one, just use a little bit of water, go over it back and forth, and you're sort of blending the two colours together to create that soft edge there instead of that hard line. Okay, so hopefully those techniques will help you in your painting.